Welcome, everybody, to your brand new favorite video games podcast, Get Some Games. I am your host, Sean, and as always, I'm joined by Ben.
What's up?
What up? For those of you that don't know, this is a weekly video games podcast featuring anything and everything video games, the current news, anything and everything. And this week we have a special episode for you, our PlayStation experience recap and reactions. So, you have any thoughts before we just jump right into it?
Interesting. It was interesting, but like not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick, of course, some housekeeping real quick. If you like that idea of our weekly podcast and Let's Plays and all that good stuff, game reviews, please subscribe to us right here on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at @getsome_games. So now that that's out of the way, you want to just go in order, recap, and give our reactions as we go?
Yeah, let's go in order.
All right, they started with Uncharted 4. Now, I took notes here, and just the only note I took away from it is just Uncharted 4 graphics are Jesus. Because
yeah, it looks amazing.
That game, it looks scary good. But to be honest, I didn't watch what they showed. Like, once I realized that they were showing a cutscene or like showing, I didn't watch it because I went dark on Uncharted 4 months ago. Like, I haven't seen pretty much anything since the gameplay at PSX last year. Because I don't want to know story. I don't want to know anything. I want to be completely surprised by this game. But I did see online that it looks like there's new dialogue options. Like, you can choose what Drake says, and that's something completely new.
That's cool, but I don't really see the point in a game like this. It's not really an RPG, or I don't know, like, is there going to be multiple endings, or is it just going to be like for different scenarios in the game? I guess it's kind of cool.
It's a cool idea, I guess, but like you said, Uncharted has always just been, this is the story, but I don't want ever... Is there going to be multiple endings now? Like, what are your choices that you pick to say going to really have any effect on the story? And if they don't, then why add them? But if they do, I don't know. I've always liked that Uncharted was what it was, like in interacting. Like,
yeah, not every game needs to be an open world RPG.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies keep trying to add these elements. And I think a lot of RPG elements are good for games. They just make them more fun with a progression system. But dialogue options, I'm hoping that it's just like it gives you different scenarios, but they ultimately lead to the same thing. But I don't want like you to kill a character because of a dialogue option, then that character shows up later because I don't think that'll happen. But I hope it's done in a way where there's one ending, but then if there's only one ending, it kind of makes you question what the point of it is.
Yeah, like,
so I don't know.
Uncharted has always just been, this is Naughty Dog's story, this is what they wanted to tell, and that's what it is, and it's always been awesome. It's worked really well for it. And now for the last Uncharted game, you might mix with that up and mess with that. I don't know. I mean, it's Naughty Dog, so I have all the trust in the world that they're going to nail it and it's going to be perfect. But I don't know. This is very questionable.
What if it gets set up in the way that, okay, so say dialogue option 1 leads you to like a shootout, and dialogue option 2 leads you to a car chase, and dialogue option 3 leads you to running away through a forest or whatever. Ultimately, they all lead to the same place, but you just get to experience it differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be cool. Like I said, just as long as they do it in a way that doesn't completely mess with the whole formula, then because the way you just described it is a great way to have people coming back. Like, if I play through the game and then I see like, oh, at this point you could have like had this crazy shootout, but when I played it, it was just like a car chase or something, then that would definitely have me go back and play through the story multiple times.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So if they did it like that, I think it'd be interesting. But I don't want a multiple ending scenario either, because I don't know. I like that Uncharted. I like that Naughty Dog in general stories are focused on what they want, and they don't like do a bunch of extraneous stuff that isn't necessary.
Exactly. And people are playing the multiplayer beta right now. I didn't buy the Nathan Drake collection, and I don't play betas anymore, but people are loving it. Like, I saw a couple GIFs. Online of people loving it, doing just crazy, awesome, totally Uncharted things. It looks like it runs super smooth. It looks so much fun. I hope that like the Uncharted community plays that game for a long time, because I really want a third-person online shooter like that right now.
I So I read that it runs at 60 frames per second, the
Yes.
multiplayer. So I'm hoping that extends to the main game too.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that single player was 30 and multiplayer was 60. Uh, that's I get why they would make that decision because in single player the whole Twitch factor isn't nearly as important, and they might want to make the graphics look better. And then you can dumb down the graphics a little bit in multiplayer if that means that it can run at 60 frames. So I like if they absolutely had to choose one, I'm glad they chose that way. But it does suck that single player doesn't run at 60 FPS as well.
I would have rather them just dumb down the graphics to this whatever the multiplayer level is at, which is probably better looking than most games anyways
Yeah.
for the single player. But there might be scenarios within the single player that they wanted to do that they couldn't do with 30 FPS. Like graphics aside, like some sort of huge explosion or crazy boss fight or something.
Yeah, the set
Well,
pieces in this game are going to be nuts.
but so if that's the reason, then I can kind of get over it. But like if the only thing is the graphics, then I would rather them. I don't know. I'd rather a game that feels better to play. I just think 60 FPS objectively feels better to play than 30 FPS.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. It's just weird that they're doing it like that. But I'm glad that they decided well multiplayer should definitely be 60 FPS and there's no compromising there. So I like that.
Yeah, that's a very necessary option or choice to make.
That's good. So I mean, the game looks good. I kind of skimmed through the cutscene because, like you, I didn't really want the spoiler, especially because I haven't played 2 or 3 Uncharted. I'm partway through 2. I haven't beaten it, and I haven't played 3 at all. So I don't want to know what happens.
Yeah, they've been showing that game so much. They showed brand new, like they showed a brand new gameplay section just 2 days ago at the Game Awards. So I don't know. I hope that game needs to go quiet now. Like there's no reason for them to show any more of that game now. Maybe like a TV, a commercial, like when the game comes out. Obviously, you can do something like that, but like I really don't want to see or hear any more about this game. Everyone's already sold on it. They were sold on it the second that they said that the game exists. So we can stop giving away stuff, I think.
Yeah. I'm excited for Uncharted, but I still haven't fallen in love with it yet. And so I'm hoping once I beat the second game that'll kind of happen. Because I'm already playing the second game and it's way better than the first one. So I'm hoping that I can get even more excited because I'm definitely going to get the game.
Yeah,
So
2 and 3 are definitely the games that like made Uncharted the massive hit that it is now. Like everyone obviously knew that they had something with Uncharted, and at the time it was fantastic. But then Uncharted 2 like completely like pushed it to brand new heights that no one ever saw coming. So and really made Naughty Dog was already a household name because of Crash and Jack and Daxter, but like I'll never forget when Uncharted 2 came out. It just completely blew everybody away, and because the PS3 was still so far behind the Xbox 360 at that point. So then, like the PS3 had that game finally that was like, 360 cannot do this. It can't have this game, and it can't run this game. Like there isn't anything like this on 360. And Uncharted 2 is fantastic. And then I think they even pushed it even farther with Uncharted 3. I know a lot of people think that 2 is better than 3, but I think that 3 is a little better than 2. But I just can't wait for you to finish those games so I can hear what you think of them.
yeah, I've heard by like the mainstream audience that 3 is better, but then I've heard from like really hardcore gamer Uncharted fans that 2 is better. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what ends up being the favorite. But I heard 2 is like a more cohesive game, whereas 3 kind of feels a little disjointed because it's more focused on the set pieces. But we'll see as I play it.
Yeah,
But,
I could agree with that. I won't argue that point.
all right. Well, that's really all I have to say about Uncharted, though.
Yeah, same here. So I guess just moving on from there, the next thing that they talked about, they really stuck with the third party stuff. They got I was hoping that they got all the third party stuff out of the way. They came out and talked about Call of Duty. They announced the Call of Duty World League that they're really getting behind, which I'm not really into the whole esports scene, but that's mostly because every game that's a major esport, like League of Legends, Hearthstone, now Call of Duty, things like that, are games that I'm not really into. But I really like the idea of esports, and if a game that I'm really into, like Destiny or maybe even Uncharted 4, if that gets like a big league following, I would love to be into something like that.
Yeah, I would too, but like for a Call of Duty one, like I don't care.
Yeah.
But like just to be completely blunt and honest, and if you do care, that's great. I all the more power to you. I personally just don't. I like it just doesn't appeal to me. Like I'd much rather be into like an Overwatch World League or I don't know, a lot of other games. The Call of Duty is just kind of like Call of Duty is like kind of the bar that all shooters need to be as good as or better than, I feel like. And then I don't know. For that reason, because Call of Duty is kind of like the limbo bar that you kind of have to do a reverse and get over. um, because of that, it doesn't feel like it just can't be something that I can get into because it feels like the normal, the average, the like they're just better FPS shooters that I'd be way more interested in watching. You know?
Yeah. Uh, it felt so weird. Like PlayStation Experience is your super nerdy, super hardcore fan base, like the people that are there live and in person. And it just felt so weird to have her come out and try to get the crowd excited for Call of Duty, because though that's not the Call of Duty base. Like the people that would go to PSX, there would be there. I swear there was like a bigger crowd reaction to Bastion getting a release date on Vita than all this Call of Duty stuff, and and I don't know, like people were responding and it was a great crowd and like they cheered and everything when they were quote unquote supposed to, but I don't know, some of it felt forced and awkward, but that just might be because of my own mindset of how I didn't care about Call of Duty, and I know that PlayStation Experience is your like hardcore PlayStation crowd. So like I bet 95% of Vita owners were in that crowd. And yep. And then going from Battlefront, which I know your hardcore gamer isn't really into right now because the EA hate and all that stuff, and then but it was fine. Everything went smoothly. I was hoping that they would have some kind of Battlefield or Battlefront announcement or some kind of something, but they just kind of showed like 5 really cool clips that gamers have made, which I don't know, it just felt forced. They're really, really pushing the Battlefront thing and the Call of Duty thing. Like their third-party support this year has been crazy. So
yeah, it has that. Yeah, third-party support's always really great, but I bought a PlayStation 4 to get PlayStation 4 games. You know, like I don't know, like if I'm gonna play a third-party game, I'll probably play it on the computer unless I have a friend that I want to play with on the PS4. So, but moving on from that, we got a new Battleborn character and the beta.
Yeah, they had Randy Pitchford come out, and I like how they got like big name people that come out there, like Pitchford or just like Sean Layden. Obviously, he would be there. Oh yeah, real quick, I forgot. They started. Not only did they start with Uncharted, but they started with the most legendary tease I think I've ever seen, with Sean Layden coming out in a Crash Bandicoot shirt.
Oh man, why would they do that?
That was my biggest reaction. Like of all the of everything that they showed, my biggest reaction was when he came out in a Crash shirt. Like I like audibly yelled, "Oh shit," because I thought he was gonna have a Crash announcement, but obviously there was nothing. So that's 2 years in a row now where there's been a huge tease that would just like fell dead, like at PSX, because last year they had the Final Fantasy HD.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
though.
And now they've got Crash, and you knew like. It was so obvious when he came out, everyone was like cheering a little bit, and then when he like walked into the light and was wearing a Crash shirt, the crowd like exploded and Twitter exploded. So like everyone thought like this was it, that we got Crash back, but there's nothing. It was just like a, you know.
Do you think that they did that on purpose, like, or do you think that they were just wearing it because it's a Naughty Dog shirt?
Yeah, it might, because Crash is obviously beloved by the PlayStation community, and PlayStation Experience is a celebration of all things PlayStation. So, like, it could have just happened to be a Crash shirt, but I don't know. Like, it reminds me when Phil Spencer was wearing a Battletoads shirt, and then everyone started speculating that Battletoads was coming back, and now Battletoads was on the Rare Replay, and Battletoads was in Shovel Knight on the Xbox One version, and I don't know. It could be nothing, but it also could be something. But
Look, if they announced a new Crash Bandicoot game that they said, okay, we're getting the developer, some old Naughty Dog developers for Crash Bandicoot, I would flip my shit. And as much as I hate to admit it, I love Jack and Daxter, but Crash Bandicoot and I would say Last of Us and Uncharted are Naughty Dog are more well known for those than they are for Jack and Daxter. And if they did Crash, especially, that's probably still one of their best selling franchises. Uh, I would. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. I'd be so excited.
Yeah, same. Even if they didn't like Naughty Dog now, the Naughty Dog team is definitely not going to make another Crash. But there are a ton of talented developers that totally could make a 2016 modern Crash game and have it be awesome. Like, there's no reason because Nintendo puts out like they put out New Super Mario Bros. U just a couple years ago, and that game's awesome. Like, and it plays. You know, it's obviously new and modern and different, but it has the same idea as like Super Mario World that came out 20 years ago. So you could totally put out a Crash game that has the same kind of feel and the same kind of vibe that the original Crash game has, but have it come out in 2016 and have it be great and everybody would love it. There's no reason why that game can't exist.
Yeah, and there's also no reason they couldn't pass it off to another developer. But Naughty Dog's whole story focus, they're making great stories. They've been making great stories since the Jack days, but what irritates me about their perspective is how they're like, we make mature story games, as if like the games they made before weren't mature. Whereas, I don't know if I agree with that concept that just because the story itself is more serious that it's more mature, but that's a different point entirely. But so what I wish they would do is like split into two segments, keep all the people at Naughty Dog currently that have worked on the Uncharted, and probably later on to the Jack series and Last of Us, and keep them as a team. Like, don't split them up, but then create another team within Naughty Dog that works on like these smaller Crash Bandicoot games or smaller Jack and Daxter games. You know, because they don't have to pour as much money into that because they don't need realistic graphics. So.
Yeah, I would love that. They could, because it would still, even if it crashed, like, no matter what the situation, everyone would love a brand new Crash PlayStation game. But to see a new Crash PlayStation game, like, with the Naughty Dog name on it, they could, like, I mean, I don't know anything about game development. I'm not going to try to sound like I do. But
it's difficult.
Yeah, but Naughty Dog could realistically hire, like, 30 to 50 people at the absolute most and have like a separate third small team just so they can put that Naughty Dog stamp on it. And like, I don't see anything wrong with that really. Like, if a Naughty Dog made Crash game came out, because obviously all the same people that worked on the Crash games don't work at Naughty Dog still. Some of them do, but obviously not all of them. So that's really like a PlayStation dream come true.
Oh yeah, me too. So I hope that they do that. I'm not holding my breath, but you know, they could just give it to Insomniac and let them do it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but whatever. That'd be cool. As far as Battleborn goes, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it looks great, but Overwatch. So that's gonna be the hero-based shooter that I get. So.
Yeah, I bet Gearbox is probably pretty upset that Overwatch exists. But I mean, there's room for all different hero shooters, I guess, if there has to be. Gearbox obviously has love from the fans for Borderlands, and they look like they're putting a lot into this, and they're getting behind. PlayStation is getting behind it, so that's going to help them quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's great that they're doing it, and I think competition is good. I just feel bad for them because I feel like unless Overwatch is worse than Battleborn, then Overwatch is just going to sell better, right? Because there'll be Overwatch and a Battleborn. So I think as long as Overwatch is at least as good as Battleborn, if not better, then Overwatch is just going to do better. Though I'm sure like all the Gearbox fans and Borderlands fans will go out and buy Battleborn. So yeah, they'll probably be fine.
Yeah, the fact that Overwatch is made by Blizzard, like you said, it helps it a lot. Like, people know Blizzard, and Blizzard is like one of the biggest developers in video game history if you consider all the games that they've made, from StarCraft to World of Warcraft, and now they have everything. So
Blizzard's kind of known for quality too. I mean, I know Diablo was kind of rocky on the PC when it first launched, but it turned into a great game. And so I feel like Blizzard, like they haven't really made a bad game since before Warcraft 1. So
Yeah, it took me a sec, but yeah, you're right. From all the Warcrafts to all the way up, is Hearthstone their newest game, or did Hearthstone came out after Diablo 3, right?
to be honest, I'm not completely sure, but it might
I'm
be.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Hearthstone is their newest game, unless you count like StarCraft expansions or Diablo
Nah.
expansions. But
Or,
that's
yeah, no, I don't count Warcraft expansions either. I mean, even if you kind of could because they're basically like entire games, like the expansions.
yeah,
They just need the first one for.
right.
But I wouldn't really count that as a new game because it's not like a new. I don't know if I really have a logical reason for why I wouldn't consider it a new game, but it just doesn't feel that way.
Right, yeah, it's just
in a
an
way
expand.
specific.
Like it's a World of Warcraft expansion, so it makes sense to not consider it a completely new game. But the Battleborn announcement itself was Toby, which is a new character, and I think they said is the 16th character that they've announced for Battleborn so far out of 25.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and Toby is a penguin that's in like a mech suit type thing, and he's like really over the top. He's like yelling all the time and making jokes, and he's very Borderlandsy, very Gearbox. Gearbox is like what's going to separate Overwatch from Gear or from Battleborn is like Battleborn's trying to be all like edgy and cool, like in a good way, and have way more personality. Like their theme is choose your badass. That's their line. So like it's not a character, it's a badass. So that they're just trying to have that, and I think that actually could really help them in the long run if people don't think it's corny, which it doesn't seem to be.
No, it's like it's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like the community in general is becoming more and more like corny is becoming less of a thing because there's like a certain style of humor that's been gaining traction and that kind of Borderlandsy style humor. So
Shit, I had something else I wanted to add to it, but now I'm drawing a blank. So what? Oh yeah, I was gonna say like a hero shooter. Like there is a campaign and stuff, but obviously that game is gonna live and breathe on the multiplayer front. So I like the more personality the characters have, the better. Like for Call of Duty, for example, or a ton of games. You know, Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefront. You're just nameless soldier number 800 million, like, but then with Battleborn or something like Gears of War or Overwatch, you are this character has these lines and this personality and they say these things and this is this character's backstory. I think that like that is possibly what's going to really get me into hero shooters like Battleborn or Overwatch, because that's something that I really liked about Gears of War is when it was the multiplayer, like you're playing as Cole or Marcus Phoenix, and that alone just gets you a little, even though it's a multiplayer random deathmatch game, it still gets you that a little bit more connected to it when you're a certain character, and I really like that.
no, I love that too. Shit, what was I gonna say? I had a ever since I played Battlefront 2, like the whole, I mean, because the whole hero choose your hero is like basically an extension of class systems that they had in Battlefront 2 and Team Fortress 2. So like you have different classes, and that's kind of what the heroes are. So I've always liked that idea that you could play as one, then you could switch out, then you're like this thing that's good at this like specific thing, and then I've always been really into that, and I feel like it adds a lot more variety. So it's great. Um, Probably not going to get Battleborn, probably going to get Overwatch, but it still looks good. So
Yeah, I haven't decided yet, but if you get Overwatch, then I'll probably get Overwatch. That because like with a game that I know I'm just gonna play online. If assuming you get Overwatch for PS4, I don't know if you'll get it for PC, but I'm gonna want to play with people I know if I'm gonna play the game primarily online.
right, yeah, no, I'm with you there.
All right, you want to go to the next Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Well, we got a new Street Fighter character announced, Fang. So Street Fighter continues to look really, really good, like graphically and from game. I mean, gameplay it looks like Street Fighter, but I know a lot of people had complaints about Street Fighter 4 being like simpler than previous Street Fighter games, particularly Street Fighter 2, which I think is still considered one of the best fighting games ever. But it looks great. There's so many different fighting games now that I'm not sure Street Fighter is going to be something I'm going to get into. Like, I still feel like I would choose Mortal Kombat or Smash Brothers or, I don't know, a wide variety of other games before Street Fighter. But it looks good.
Yeah,
I don't have much to say about it, really.
and they also announced King of Fighters is coming. Oh shit! Now I'm blanking on the number. I want to say King of Fighters 14, but that might be wrong. It's either 14 or 15. Is exclusive to PS4, which is crazy that PlayStation. Like, if you're a fighting game fan, you're like almost forced to buy a PS4 at this point, because Street Fighter is either the biggest or the second biggest fighting game franchise, either in front of or behind Mortal Kombat, I would say. Unless you count Smash Bros, then it gets foggy from there. But so you either have to play Street Fighter on PC or on a PS4. And now King of Fighters, which is another super hardcore fighting game, you have to play that on PS4. And Xbox One just has Killer Instinct. Wow. Xbox One has Killer Instinct, but Killer Instinct definitely isn't on the same level as Street Fighter. So it's PlayStation definitely has the fighting game community wrapped up in that regard.
Yep, I agree. I don't really have anything to say about Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. It's a new character, but so is Street Fighter 5 completely exclusive to PS4? Or is it a timed release thing?
No, it is a console exclusive to PS4. It's also on PC, but it's not a time. It's not going to be on Xbox One. Maybe in years, but it's not like a Tomb Raider thing where it's coming first to PS4 or nothing. It's it's a console exclusive for PS4.
Nice. That's great for PS4. But kind of why?
Yeah, it's really weird that Capcom did that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it must be worth the cost of not selling basically twice as many units or whatever. But also, I think Street Fighter is bigger in Japan anyways, so, and not a lot of people buy Xboxes in Japan. So
yeah, Xbox sells abysmally in Japan, laughably.
So it doesn't even really matter. But it's just a cool thing that PlayStation fans can have.
Yeah, PlayStation's killing it with third parties between getting Call of Duty now and getting behind Battlefront and getting so many third-party exclusive DLC and games and all that stuff. They basically have what the Xbox 360 had. So, and from there, we pretty much just got an endless slew of indie games, basically. They started with Adult Swim. The little Adult Swim intro was really cool. How they have the Adult Swim style, just like the black background with the white text. I thought it was cool that they did that. And they announced that they're now making and publishing games. They announced 4, I think, and of the 4, the one that caught my attention the most was Death's Gambit, which is just a Metroidvania style game. But from there, it was basically just indie title after indie title after indie title, and Go ahead.
Yeah, I love Metroidvania as an idea, but Metroidvania is awesome because it's Metroid, not necessarily because of the style of gameplay that it is. Though that does definitely help a lot, and I know a lot of people just like that style of game. But no one does Metroidvania as well as Metroid does. Yeah. Not even Castlevania does. I think even the Castlevania, those games that are Metroidvania, they're more built on the back of their RPG systems and their level up systems, whereas Metroid just has the best level design, best everything. So I don't know. I don't really get excited about a Metroidvania game.
Yeah, it takes a rare one. Like Guacamelee came out a couple years ago, and that was a Metroidvania game that I really, really got behind. But it's crazy to me how in just 2 years, maybe 3, in 2 years, at least for me, and I'm seeing a lot on the internet, indie games went from this awesome new uprising to being a great idea, great everything about the indie movement was awesome. And in just 2 to maybe 3 years, it seems like they've just become a nuisance. I don't know. It's because the fact that indie games exist don't hinder from AAA games. It's not like this indie game exists, so it's taking the place of a AAA game that would have existed instead. It's not. I know it's not like that, but so many. There's like an endless amount of games now, and that might sound like a good thing, but in a way, it could be a bad thing. There's no like quality control. Like if you go on Steam right now, there's like hundreds of thousands of games on there, and especially like at the iOS and the Google App Store, like.
Yeah, I mean it's becoming oversaturated, and a lot of the another problem is that the games are so similar because indies don't really have the budget to make 3D games, I guess. So they're all 2D, and then like all 2D platformer puzzles are like not all of them, but like so an overwhelming amount of them are that, and it's just like I can't be bothered to care.
Yeah,
Like,
and even games that aren't technically indie games, but they have the indie feel. Like Sony Santa Monica has been teasing that they have a new game coming out, and it's not their game specifically. Santa Monica Studio always helps with a ton of like other little developers make games, but it gets you excited, you know, that the Sony first party is helping with a new game, and they're teasing it, and then they reveal it, and it's like just some. I don't know. It looks like an indie game. It's low. I'm so back and forth on all this stuff because at the same time, obviously not every game has to be a huge AAA epic. But when 90% of the games come out, they all look like they're 8 to 16-bit platformers, or if they're just like so obviously like a low budget art direction, even if it's trying to look more modern, it's just getting so. It's just too much. Like
yeah, like I don't mind. Like, I mean, there's been like a graphics creep for like a really long time, but I'm completely fine with indie games looking worse. That's not really what the issue is. It's that it's just they just so many of them look the same, and like, and I know there's a lot of good ones, and the good ones stand out from the pack, and then I'm sure even some good ones get lost in the shuffle, which is the disadvantage of so much clutter being there. But I don't like it being pushed as something awesome, like awesome to that extent. Because there's rarely I've played a number of indie games, and I don't think any of them have given me the same sensation as any AAA game, really. I mean, there are definitely a lot of indie games that are much better than AAA games. That's not what I'm saying, but they don't have the same like professionalism built into them. And then you have like exceptions like Shovel Knight, you have Guacamelee, you have Bastion, you have Transistor, and you have like really great games like those. But I feel like those are not as common as people want to say they are. Like when people say that they're really into indies, what they really mean is like these select games. They don't really mean like because I think the idea of indie being its own genre is dumb because they make different kinds of games.
yeah,
It's almost like indie is just a synonym for low budget. And it's like low budget games, and then I think that might be the problem is that there's a stigma attached to it. Like for people like you and me, we're just like, well, we just can't be bothered to care as much. I don't. It's very hard to explain. I'm always back and forth on it because there's definitely a lot of great indie games, but there's also a lot of not good indie games, and I don't like that you can't build the back of a conference on indie games. Like I don't think people get invested in the same way.
yeah, exactly. Like that's where I come down to it. Like obviously, it doesn't burden me that this game exists, and I can just ignore it when it comes out and never play it. And then the people that do play it and like it, that's awesome. But then like it's just every other baggage with it. Like when PlayStation, they have we're proud to announce our new game where we partnered up with insert developer that I've never heard of here to bring you insert game I've never heard of here, and and then they show a trailer and it just looks like indie game number 10,000 that looks like all the other ones and plays like so many other ones. Even if the story is unique, like you give me this great epic sounding story, but then it's just like a bullet hell game that I played in the arcades like 20 years ago, just for example. Like it just, when it comes down to the gameplay, there's just too many that are way too similar.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't need that many of the same game. But it's fine. It doesn't make for an interesting conference.
Yeah, especially in this sense. Like this conference, I feel like I love when PlayStation press conferences are like one of my favorite things, as nerdy as that is to say. I absolutely adore press conferences like this. But this conference really, it was 2 hours, and I love that PlayStation always goes long. Like, they almost always have the longest E3 conference. All their conferences are always so long. But this conference really probably could have been like 40% shorter, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah.
They
I think by having all the indie games, it kind of cluttered up the. I mean, it's great for these developers, but as a consumer, maybe other people feel differently. Like, let us know in the comment section if you feel differently. For me, I'm just like, okay, when are they going to talk about something else? It's just not the same investment. I think that also has something to do with you get invested in developers. I think a part of it is nostalgia, but like, it's really hard to get excited about an indie game in the same way you get excited about a new Uncharted game.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you have these developers that have made nothing but great games, and then I don't know, just it's so weird. I just
yeah, I think we can. I think we can move on from there. Like, I mean,
yeah, like I'm talking in circles, and I'm not even really sure what I want to say. It's just point being is that indie games do not get me as excited as other levels of varying other levels of budgeted games. I just can't get the same amount of excited.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative anymore, so let's move
on.
From there, they announced that Yakuza 5 is coming west to the PS3 December 8th, so that's just this Tuesday. So that's pretty cool. And then they're also bringing Yakuza 0 to PS4 with a pretty cool trailer for that. So if you're into Yakuza, that's a big thing. I hope they come out with like Yakuza is a series that I always liked, like when I was younger. But it obviously never got to the level of like other PlayStation games like Ratchet and Clank or whatever. But that's a series I would like to come back. I know a lot of people are excited for that, and it has huge potential for like deep story and something different as well.
Oh yeah, this would be a good opportunity for me to get into Yakuza because I've heard great things. About the series, so I'm interested. I'm excited. It looks cool.
One of the games that actually looks cool, one of the coolest looking games for me, is a new game by Team Ninja, and Team Ninja's with Koei Tecmo, who make the Dynasty Warriors games, and they have a new game coming out called Neo, is I'm pretty sure how you pronounce that, and they showed a really cool trailer for it. It looks, just to put some kind of brand on it, it kind of looks like Ninja Gaiden meets Bloodborne, which I'm sure when you play the game it's totally different, but it has that. It's not super fat and it's not super fast like Ninja Gaiden, but it's not super slow like Bloodborne. It looks like it's somewhere in the middle, but your character looks like it has a lot of weight, and all the enemies look like something that could have been in Bloodborne, and it's like super violent, just a third-person action game basically. And Team Ninja, they made the new Devil May Cry, so obviously they're in a ton of other games. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to. Third-person action games like this, like God of War and Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, that's like one of my favorite genres. So I'm really excited for that game.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. You mentioned the characters feeling like they have weight, because that was my problem with Dynasty Warriors games, is they feel like I don't feel like there's enough crunch to the combat. I don't feel like my character has a lot of weight. So there's that detachment there, whereas when a character has weight to it, it feels more. It's so hard to describe what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like in Dynasty Warriors, you just that's just an endless beat 'em up game. Like you just run into a crowd of like 30 people and kill them all in like 5 swings of your sword or javelin or whatever you've got. And you don't feel like you just killed 30 guys in like 4 swings of your weapon, and it doesn't feel like anything. But then something like this, you fight. If you win like a 2-on-1 battle, it really felt good, and it feels like you really accomplished something by killing these 2 enemies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. I definitely see the appeal in those like gigantic Dynasty Wars, a million enemies coming at you. But I like it. For me, in a game, what's particularly fun is some level of challenge. When I feel like I'm overcoming something, and I feel like you don't feel as much like you're overcoming something in those games because it's so you're slaughtering like 50 enemies at once, so each individual enemy loses its effect, I guess.
Yeah, like after you play Dynasty Warriors games for like 30 minutes, if you see just like two guys, like two enemies running, you don't even think about them. You just run right by.
Yeah.
And in a game like Bloodborne, if there's two enemies there, you have to like really, really focus, or they're going to kill you.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is like pacing out enemies in games like these, because I often find in action slasher games that I always want to skip the enemies, and you shouldn't feel that way in a game that's based around that.
Yeah.
You should want the combat should be what's fun, but I think a big trap a lot of these types of games fall into is not having varied gameplay, like whether it's environments or platforming or I don't know, just doing different things, interesting terrain. A lot of games fall in the trap of just being about the combat to the point where it's not interesting anymore.
Yeah, and
But
I think Team Ninja is definitely like when you see that Team Ninja is making this kind of game, I instantly think like, okay, this is going to be good. You have my attention.
Yeah, this looks great. And Team Ninja also made Other M, though they didn't do the story, so the reason that game was bad wasn't necessarily their fault.
Yeah.
So
wait, hold on, real quick. Did I? Oh, never mind. I was gonna say that I was gonna correct something that I said earlier, but then I remembered that I didn't really say that. So never mind.
All right, Ratchet and Clank. We got a little bit more of that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got an official release date, April 12th.
Yes.
It looks great. Still looks great. They retcon Ratchet's backstory pretty hard. I think we already kind of knew that, but I hope that he still feels like his original character. It still looks like that, but I'm worried that they took out too much of his sarcasm. And I know in the first game he was just kind of mean in his sarcasm, but in subsequent games it felt like fun sarcasm, like it was funny in the banter. But I'm worried that he's going to be too happy-go-lucky and it's going to irritate me. So I hope it's not like that. I don't think it'd be like that, considering it's not like that in any other game. But the trailer that they showed gave me that impression a little bit.
Yeah, the movie trailer makes it seem like he's some like kid that looks up at these heroes and he wants to meet them and become something like that, and that really isn't exactly like he is in the first one. So they're saying that the game was originally just supposed to be like an HD remaster, but then it quickly became something more. So I'm not completely against changing up the character a tad, but if, like what you're saying, if they do it too much, then it better be really good. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of unfortunate that they're restarting Ratchet and Clank with this new idea, I guess, with a new character personality. But I have faith in Insomniac, and the game itself looks beautiful. It looks so much fun. I love that they showed we've seen quite a bit of this game, but I like that they showed some more gameplay, different weapons. It looks like it feels great to play, which is something Ratchet and Clank has always nailed.
Oh yeah, this game looks awesome.
Yeah, very excited for that.
Really great. Yep.
April 12th is later than I hoped, though.
Yeah, though they did say spring, so
yeah. But and then the movie they got a release date for the movie too, which I think was April 27th. I want to say. Don't quote me on that though. And it's I'm gonna see that movie day one for sure. I'm very hyped for that movie. If Ratchet and Clank is so for years and years and years people have been saying Ratchet and Clank is like a Pixar video game, a playable Pixar movie. And so if any video game can translate well into a movie, I think Sony nailed it when they decided to make a Ratchet and Clank movie. And I hope I don't eat my words, but I don't think there's any way that movie will be bad.
It could be. They might have genericized it or whatever. That's not a word, but
hey, I knew what you meant, so it works.
But made it too stock. Because I've seen a couple people who don't really know anything about the games being like, oh, it looks like stereotypical stock kids movie, and I didn't get that impression from the trailer, being familiar with the game. So, but if it's striking that chord with people, then I'm kind of concerned, because Ratchet and Clank definitely isn't like that. It may have been at one time. I mean, it may have been. Came out at a time where that was the genesis of that style of humor and stuff, but I don't know. Now I'm concerned about how critics and stuff are going to look at it and whatnot, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell also, like, we fell in love with Ratchet and Clank when we were kids, so it's hard to tell if, like, the movie's probably going to be rated PG just from, like, cartoonish violence, but I don't know if PlayStation has always been really good at making something that could appeal to kids, but then it also appeals to all ages. So I hope that they don't try too hard to please like the 10-year-old kids or make it like that kind of movie. And I hope that they try to make it appealing for everybody, like people that grew up with Ratchet and Clank and are now adults. And then also they can take their kid to it and they can have a good time too. So it's a tough chore, but I think they can do it.
Well, that's awesome. Yep. I think they can. It'll probably be fine. I'm probably just worrying too much.
Ratchet and Clank is a beloved franchise. They can't screw it up, and they won't.
They could screw it up, but I hope they don't.
Yeah. So from there, basically a ton of VR after that. Like VR games left and right. I swear every developer that is making a VR game looks like they're just in a race to see who can make people sick the fastest. Because it's like when the Wii came out or PlayStation Move. It's like, look at all these things when you can just motion control, and when the 3D or when the DS came out, it's like, look at all these 2-screen gimmicks, and when the Vita came out, they're like, oh my god, back touch and all these VR games are just like, let's have everything happening all over the place and make it completely insane. And I don't know, all this, whenever new tech comes out, people try to use it in the absolute either most generic way or just like in the absolute craziest way possible. And it seems like all these games are just like everything is happening at once, and look how insane this is. And I'm sure some of them are going to be fun, and when people say that they think VR will make them sick, like, I really don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. But this first wave of VR games, very few of them excite me. The tech excites me a lot, and games like Rigs look great, but overall, a lot of the games look just like like fun tech demos, but not great games. That's really all of my thoughts on VR.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I mean, I feel like a lot of these games, I'd so much rather them not come out in VR, but that's just me.
Oh, and where's the price? Where's the release date? Like, Sony didn't really announce anything at this press conference. It was so just, I don't know. How do we still not know how much PSVR is going to cost? How do we still not know when it's going to come out? It's coming out next year. That's what we know. People are speculating that it's going to come out in June or July, but I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, they really need
information.
Yeah, not a lot of information in general about a lot of things that I would have liked to know about at PSX.
Yeah, it sucks that when you come away from a press conference and you think like, where like it just wasn't enough. A 2-hour press conference and then you think there wasn't enough, like, that's bad.
Yeah, that is bad. That's not good.
Yeah, some of them look cool though. Like Ace Combat 7 is like a perfect franchise to make, like, if you want to take an existing franchise and put it into VR, like a flight simulator or flight action, or like, a dogfighting action game, something like that. So it seems like they're making good choices, but then they all seem so generic at the same time. Like the Eagle Flight game that Ubisoft is making. I don't know. Until we get some more concrete information and until we get closer, like, that's all I want to know about PlayStation VR at this point. Is I want to know how much it's going to cost me and when can I get this.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't like told us that already.
Yeah, I thought for sure PSX was the place to do it, but because if people think it's going to come out in June or July, then E3 might be too late. So maybe at CES they announce something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. Just the waiting game at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not sure VR is even at the point technologically that I'd be interested. It's quite a, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. More random game announcements. The Destiny Sparrow Racing League. That's a really cool idea. but still just like little random things. And then final two big, huge announcements. Ni no Kuni 2 got announced by Level 5 and Studio Ghibli, and I think for as far as like new game announcements, this has to be the biggest one of the day.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, Nino, it looks so beautiful. Studio Ghibli is just too good at what they do, and Level 5 of obviously they're just so good. Ni no Kuni is just like such a beloved game on PS3. I didn't play it for nearly as much as I wanted to because it came out towards the end of PS3's life cycle, so I was already like jumping ship to PS4, and it hasn't come out on PS4 since then, which is a travesty. Maybe they'll remaster it before Ni no Kuni 2 comes out because that's what people like to do now. But I'm very excited that this game exists. I can't believe it wasn't leaked. There was rumors that they were making it, but that was just based on the success of the first one. This game's gonna be awesome. Like,
yeah, it's always great when a game like this gets made, or yeah, or there's this much hype surrounding it, because these are very unique artistically and everything about it, especially Studio Ghibli being involved in everything. So I'm excited. I didn't play the first one, but it was definitely a game I was looking at.
yeah, I really hope that they do remaster it. I'm usually against remasters, but in this case, I really hope they do remaster it, because even though I don't know the entire story of Ni no Kuni, I'm very excited for 2, and I'm sure this is going to be a case where it does build off of 1. It's not going to be like a Final Fantasy 12 to 13 where they're all kind of their own separate story. I'm guessing this is, or just from what we saw, this looks like to be a direct sequel. So, but I don't own a PS3 anymore. So hopefully I can get through it and play it, because I'm already excited for Ni no Kuni, and we don't have a release date or anything. It's probably late next year or early the year after.
Yep.
Speaking of Final Fantasy, real quick, Final Fantasy. Wait, have we even mentioned Final Fantasy 7 yet?
No, we haven't.
Holy crap!
Easily the coolest thing that they showed was footage of Final Fantasy 7, and it looks awesome. Though I'm not sure that's a surprise. They did change the gameplay from the original to an action-based combat system. I haven't seen too many people get upset. If Final Fantasy 15 is as awesome as people want it to be, then I don't think people will care about the changed combat system, just generally. So
it
great. I'm excited. Looks great.
That game is way farther along. At least maybe they made this vertical slice of the game, which I'm sure was obviously just made for this PSX purpose, but it looks like it's way farther along than I thought. Like, it looks beautiful. They obviously already have the direction that they're gonna go with the combat and the art style. Sorry, go ahead.
It seems to me like they already had the engine, the art style, which looks like Final Fantasy 15. And then the gameplay. So it seems like now they're just designing the worlds.
Yeah, that's possible.
Reconstructing the world. So
I'll still be absolutely shocked if this game comes out before 2018.
Oh yeah,
because
no.
Because like the guy that's the head, like the main producer of the game, didn't even know he was producing the game when they announced the game, and they're working on Kingdom Hearts 3, which is still like 2 years away. They're working on Final Fantasy 15, which is a year away. Oh
my goodness!
Like,
should be out already. Didn't they announce it last year, E3?
Final Fantasy 15?
Yeah.
I mean, technically they announced it like 7 years ago when it was Final Fantasy Versus 13, but yeah, like, it got re-announced 2 years ago.
Jesus.
So,
yeah. I almost feel like they shouldn't announce games unless it's going to come out either later that year or the year after.
Yeah,
like, why announce a game like 3 years early? Like, it's cool to know that it's coming, but also it's like you could have just waited a couple years to tell me, and I would have been more excited. It's like I get initially excited, and then my hype dies down once you realize you have to wait forever, and then you get excited again once it comes back up. But I'd rather just be really excited until it comes out, But whatever.
Yeah, I think more games are actually going to take that route. Fallout 4 took a huge step when they did that this year. Fallout 4 is like one of the biggest Fallout 4 is one of the biggest like things going on in games right now, and they waited until that game was done before they even announced it. They were like, here's Fallout 4, it's done, here's a little bit that we want to show you, and it's coming out this year. Now we're going away, play the game when it comes out, peace. And that game is selling gangbusters and everybody loves it. And I hope that we see more of that. I don't need to hear about a game that's coming out in 3 years and have no, like, I don't understand the purpose of that. Like, they announced Uncharted 4. Well, that's a bad example. But like Final Fantasy 7, even the remake, like, people have been asking for Final Fantasy 7 remake for years and years and years. So sure, when you announce it, it's like you get that huge initial hype. That's awesome. Everybody's so happy. Everyone loves Square Enix for doing it. But now they just have to sit on it for like 3 or 4 years, maybe. Like, we would have been fine if we had to wait 2 more years with no word on it, and then they announced it in 2 years, and then they're like, here's, like, we're already this far into the game. It's coming out fall of the year after that they announce it, and I just think that's way better.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. So, one last thing is there's a new MOBA coming out. Epic Games disclosed Paragon, which looks really cool. I like that it's more like Smite instead of another top-down MOBA. So that's a point in its favor. But as I'm watching the gameplay trailer, I'm thinking, wow, I wish this was a single-player game.
Yeah. It makes me feel old when I think like this or say this, but like, I'm so not into MOBAs and just do not understand them. But that's
I like MOBAs, but I just, why does everything have to have a multiplayer or be a multiplayer game now? Like, and it's like a big thing now when a company says it's just gonna have single player. Like, why is it such a novel concept? It should be the other way around.
I don't know. I mean, in the game's defense, this was the game that they wanted to make. Like, they make an awesome multiplayer game, and that's so people just take the world and the characters and think like this should be a single player game. But like, they designed the whole concept of the game to be a multiplayer game.
Yeah. I mean, it looks great, and I'm sure it's going to be a great multiplayer game. It's just, I'm like, wow, I wish there was like a single player component of it.
Yeah,
because it looks really, really great.
MOBAs interest me in like the slightest way. So maybe it's just because like Dota and League just do not interest me at all. But maybe it's just because the MOBA that would speak to me just hasn't come out yet. Epic Games they've made one of my favorite game franchises of all time in Gears of War, even though Cliffy B made that and he's not there anymore. And then Unreal Tournament is one of the most famous franchises of all time. So, and obviously Unreal 3 and Unreal 4 are two of the most, the Unreal Engine is used in countless games. So Epic really knows what they're doing, but that's not the same studio that they used to be now that Cliff is gone and Rod is making Gears of War 4. So the fact that it's by Epic Games helps it, at least for me, and it looks really cool. It's backed by PlayStation now, or at least it's going to be on PlayStation. So, all the big MOBAs are usually on computer. And like you said, it's like Smite, where it's not a top-down. If this game doesn't get me into MOBAs, I don't think anything ever will. But my interest is very high for this.
Oh yeah, me too. It looks so good.
Yeah, it looks badass for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm very eager to see it in its full state.
Yep. And that was it for what was there. But for what wasn't, there was a bunch of other random games that we didn't touch on, like MLB 16 or just things like that. You can go everywhere and anywhere, any video game site, to read up or check out all these trailers for games we might have missed, just because if we sat here and talked about every single game, we'd be here forever. But I want to bring up what wasn't there. And what wasn't there was the most important thing, which are Sony's own first parties. Where are they?
You got Uncharted and Ratchet and Clank.
No, Ratchet and Clank isn't first party.
What?
Yeah, no, Sony doesn't own Insomniac.
I know, but Sony publishes Insomniac games.
Yeah, well, not all of them. They just publish Ratchet. Like I'm talking about Sony's 12 first party games, like Sucker Punch, and well, we know Gorilla's working on Horizon, but like,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, like not PlayStation games, like Sony's first parties. Like, what Sucker Punch hasn't put out a game since Infamous First Light, and Second Son came out 2 years ago. Sony
That
Bend,
was 2 years ago already.
yeah,
What?
it
I
came
feel
out.
like that game just came out.
Or did it come out February 2014?
I feel like it was 2014.
Yeah, well, it's February 2014, so that's coming up to 2 years.
Yeah, it's pretty close to 2 years.
Like,
still.
Sony Bend is the big company, the big first-party company, where they haven't put out a game since Uncharted Golden Abyss. That game came out in Japan in December 2011.
Was that game good?
Yes, that game's fantastic. It's better than Uncharted 1.
Whew.
Yeah, that game.
That
That game.
That's not surprising.
That game is what sold the Vita. Like, games like that, where the Vita was supposed to be, you can play PS3 games on the go, and here's an example, and they gave us a fantastic Uncharted game. But Sony Bend hasn't put out a game since then. It's been teased that they're making their biggest game. Everyone was expecting a Sony Bend, and they're famous for making the Siphon Filter games on PS1. They weren't there. Evolution wasn't there. Evolution might still be working on Drive Club, but Sony Santa Monica wasn't really there with their new game. People think they might be working on a new God of War or just whatever. Like, Sony's first part, how are you going to have a PlayStation experience press conference and have none first party announcements? I can't even comprehend it. When they said one final game and it was Paragon, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, Uncharted 4 is their biggest thing. Like, that's it. We know, but we've known about Uncharted 4 since since the day the PS4 came out is when they announced Uncharted 4.
Yeah, I'm shocked they didn't announce any new first-party exclusives. Maybe they're going the Fallout 4 route and not announcing until the game's coming out soon. But that's bad if they don't have any first-party games coming out soon.
Yeah, because this year, one first-party game didn't come out this year. Not one, unless you want to count the Nathan Drake collection, which I don't. But
No, that doesn't count.
all the big PlayStation exclusives this year were second parties. Like, From put out Bloodborne, and Supermassive put out Until Dawn. Unless you want to count Sony San Diego putting out MLB 15, but I don't really count that either because that comes out every year.
Yep. I think that the game, Sony having exclusive games being put out frequently is more important than if them necessarily being first parties. It's just kind of amazing that nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Like, Shuhei Yoshida at E3 said that he's played Sucker Punch's new game. So, like, where's that? I'm sure it was like the most basic, bare bones version of the game ever. But I don't know. I'm just baffled.
I'm baffled too. I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, like I said, they have no first party games this year. Next year, I'm pretty sure all we know of next year is Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn by Guerrilla. But then, like, what's Guerrilla Cambridge working on? What's Sony London working on? What is Polyphony just working on Gran Turismo Sport? Is Evolution just working on Drive Club, or are they working on Drive Club 2? And what the hell is Sony Bend doing? Like, there's just so many questions people fell in love with the PlayStation brand because of their exclusives, and PS3 became super beloved from 2011 onwards because it was like every couple months there was a huge must-have PlayStation exclusive coming out, and PS4 has just lived off of third-party support, and we're starting year 3 of the PlayStation. Bless you.
Sorry.
It's all right. And there's just none. Like, I don't know. I might sound mad. I don't want to sound mad. I'm just baffled. Like, maybe they're saving it for E3. They might want to go the Fallout route. Maybe they need more time. Like, Uncharted 4 was supposed to come out this year, so that hurt them in the first party front this year.
Yeah, we knew that wasn't coming out this year, though.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right.
they said it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. Hopefully, if we don't get more than one first party announcement at E3 next year, I'm gonna, like, their parties are sleeping or something. I don't know what.
Hey, now you know how I feel about Nintendo's E3 conference this past year.
Yeah.
Feels terrible. Though this conference was still better than Nintendo's E3 presence this year.
Yes,
But
I agree with that. I'll
like it's so to be clear, I feel like we've been a little bit negative. It's not that like they didn't show anything good. Like no, they showed a lot of cool stuff. It's just that stuff we already knew about. And even it being stuff that we already knew about, it's not like they showed so much new gameplay that it was like, wow, this is something I wasn't expecting, or like this is a really cool part of the game. Like it was just stuff we knew about and quick succession.
Yeah,
and then some indies that that are cool, but you don't really get excited about. And then and Ni no Kuni 2 was cool. Paragon looks cool. But everything else we kind of already knew about, right? So
yeah, like we said, Ni no Kuni was like by far the biggest new game, but I don't know. I just lost my train of thought again because I have a million different thoughts going through my head about this. But
so this conference was pretty disappointing overall, but it not in like the sense that, like I said, that anything there's bad stuff. It was just they didn't talk about account features. Did they go into any detail about the PS2 backwards compatibility stuff? Like I already know that they announced 8 new games, none of which I've played.
You haven't played any of them?
No, not a single one.
What about
like I know about Twisted Metal, but I don't think I've heard of any of the other games.
What about Grand Theft Auto?
Oh, other than Grand Theft Auto, but I don't really care about Grand Theft Auto. So I know that probably excites a lot of people, Grand Theft Auto, but for me, I was like, whatever. Like I was hoping that they would announce other things. I guess I don't know. Interesting thing is that Ni no Kuni didn't even sell a crap ton of units.
Yeah, it like just edged over 1 million, didn't it?
But that's what happens when you budget a game correctly. You don't need to sell 10 million copies to break even. So
yeah, I'm sure Level 5 did, like, they made out well with that game, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be a sequel.
Yeah, that too.
Bottom line. So,
but that was the next thing I wanted to go into. Like, for just what wasn't there, we still can't change our PSN names.
I know, what the hell?
It's embarrassing at this point. It's all anyone wants. People would pay $50 to get their name changed. I bet if you asked like hardcore PlayStation fans and you said like, we're only going to add one new feature to the PS4 all next year, and it's going to be that you can change your names, they would say, okay, I like that. And they didn't talk about an update at all. They didn't talk about sales numbers. They didn't talk about the PS2 games at all. Maybe they wanted to talk about the PS2 games, but since it leaked, they didn't. They didn't talk about a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know. The Vita is alive, but just barely. They're not doing anything with it. All these other games that are coming out to every other console that just happen to be on Vita as well. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not like super upset because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff announced at E3. But that's a few months away, and I don't know. It's like I feel like most of the stuff they didn't really need a PSX for. They could have just announced it, and it would have. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have made a PlayStation blog post about Bastion coming to Vita today.
What they should have done is save the PS2 backwards compatibility official announcement for the PSX.
Yeah, that's the perfect PSX announcement.
What I'm thinking is that because it leaked that it was going to happen, they decided just to let us know anyways. I hope that way more than 8 PS2 games are coming to PS4.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I don't know, none of those games really piqued my interest, but I know there's tons of people those games would definitely pique the interest of, so.
Yeah, I'm surprised I don't care about Grand Theft Auto, but that's a completely different discussion.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I'm not into like realistic games, quote unquote. Even though Grand Theft Auto is not very realistic, but I like when there's like a fantasy or sci-fi flair to the game. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, I don't like realistic games that much. Uncharted's kind of an exception, and even then, that has it has fantastical elements, and you're still like platforming. So, yeah, I'd like to say I have a really broad. I like tons of different genres, but realistic games where it's supposed to there's nothing fantastical in it really, other than some physics-based stuff. It's just I just don't care, which is why I don't care about Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that explains why you haven't played The Last of Us either.
Yeah, and that's another reason. I mean, I'm kind of over the zombie thing, and I also know the end of the story. So,
And they're not zombies, so that too. They're not.
But-
They're not undead beings.
I know, but they're zombies.
Yeah, I know.
Like they're not traditional zombies, but they're zombies for all intents and purposes.
I was beating that drum to death when The Last of Us came out, or when The Last of Us was coming
it's
out.
not zombies.
Yeah, I worked at GameStop, and people would come in and look at it and be like, "Pff, another zombie game," and I'd be like, "They're not zombies. This, and this are the reason why they're not zombies. They're infected. They have blah 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 blah." Like, but in essence, they're zombies. But speaking of Naughty Dog, we saw Uncharted 4 for the 8 millionth time, but they're not going to show us Horizon Zero Dawn. They're not going to show us rigs. Like, speaking of Gorilla Cambridge earlier, we actually do know what they're working on. They're working on rigs. But they're going to show all this VR stuff, and if they have to keep beating... I'm so glad they didn't show No Man's Sky. The whole time, I was waiting. For something like, all right, let's roll out No Man's Sky again. And then they freaking show us another planet that you go to and another dinosaur that you can scan and fly away.
Yeah, and we did get some facts wrong in our last video about it, but it still seems like Minecraft on steroids, and that's it. I
don't want to go there again.
I don't want to go there either. I don't want to get all negative. We've been negative enough.
Yeah, but I'm surprised. Like they showed Uncharted 4 2 days ago, and from when we're recording this at 10 p.m. the 5th, so the night of PSX, the press conference. They showed a new Uncharted clip at the Game Awards. They've shown Uncharted like 6 different times now, but they're not going to show Horizon, which is their huge. It's easily their biggest new IP that's coming out in the near future. So like they're not even going to mention that. It wasn't in a sizzle reel, or yeah, it was in a sizzle reel, but like absolute minimum. I can't believe that they didn't mention that at all.
Me too.
Like, I'm actually glad. Like, I'm glad because same with Uncharted. Like, I'm sold on that game. I don't want to see any more of it. Just give me the game. I want to play it. But I'm surprised that they didn't even touch on it. It's very strange.
Weird. That said, the Game Awards was the night before, and they did show some gameplay there for that. Yeah, since we didn't do it, can we give our quick impressions of the Game Awards?
Yeah, let's make it pretty quick.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Game Awards was, oh my goodness, like the actual like ceremony itself, like the awards given and like the little jokes and skits and stuff that they did, I thought was like way better than last year.
Oh yeah.
But like the world premieres, quote unquote, oh my goodness, that was awful. Like they didn't show anything I cared about.
Yeah.
Not a single thing. I mean, it was either stuff we already knew about, or that's it. I mean, or it was something that like wasn't that exciting. Like I was shocked Nintendo didn't show any Zelda or announce anything. They did have a touching tribute to Iwata though.
Yeah, that was one of the 3. I had 3 takeaways from the Game Awards. The Iwata tribute was amazing. Jeff Keighley calling the fuck out of Konami was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Oh, that was great. Konami, okay, EA's pretty scummy. Like, say like on 1 to 10, you have 1 that's not scummy at all, and then you have a 10 that's like really freaking scummy. You have EA that's like a 9. Konami's like an 11.
Yeah, that scale should be 0 to Konami.
Yeah, 0 to Konami. Oh my god, Konami's the worst. I didn't realize quite how bad they were until recently, but
yeah, and it's all come out just this year.
Yeah, they're so awful.
From making employees take their lunch breaks in a room that's being watched by a camera, to not letting Hideo Kojima come to the Game Awards, to ditching AAA titles so they can make pachinko machines, to just
pissing people off left and right. Like their decisions as a company just fly in the face of logic. I just don't even understand.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I won't make that comparison. But yeah, they're just, ugh.
And the third note I took from the Game Awards was Greg Miller just like I've always thought Greg Miller is like the GOAT, the greatest of all time in terms of video game like journalism and in the industry. But
Yeah.
his acceptance speech was like next level. I'm so glad that he's like the community gamer, especially PlayStation in particular, just our like representative basically. And he's awesome. Like his speech was fantastic. I'm so glad that he beat PewDiePie, and
Thank God.
that was awesome. That was the highlight of
Why
the show
was
for me.
PewDiePie even nominated?
Because he's like the most popular YouTuber, and it's just
Greg Miller's not like my favorite gaming journalist, but that said, he seems like so genuine, and he seemed like better since leaving IGN. So I like him. I like him a lot.
yeah, he's absolutely genuine. Like just I watch Kind of Funny Stuff like literally every single day, and
I'm a little. I feel like I don't know about you, but I know you've watched their stuff, but I'm a little bit biased now that they've commented on our video.
oh yeah, I don't know. Like I didn't really like this isn't really announcement worthy, but they commented on one of our like I think our second podcast episode.
Oh, that was so cool.
Greg Miller commented on that, and like I lost my shit. I was telling everybody that whole day. It was awesome.
It was very cool. It was very kind. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, he's so genuine, like you said, and like. Yeah, like I couldn't for not knowing him personally. Kind of Funny calls their fans their best friends because that's exactly how it feels. And like I don't know him personally at all, and it sounds even kind of ridiculous that I put this much thought into him winning at all. But like I was so just proud and excited that he won that award, and I thought it was awesome. And his speech couldn't have been better.
Oh, me too.
So yeah,
It was great. So that's about it. It wasn't a very interesting Game Awards because the world premieres were so lackluster, but it was fine. I was pretty disappointed.
Telltale is making another game. Like Telltale's making a Batman game, and they're making a Marvel game, and they're making Walking Dead season 3, and they're making that Walking Dead Michonne game, and they're making Game of Thrones season 2, and they're making Wolf Among Us, and they're making Game of Thrones season 2.
I feel like
And they're all the same game on an awful running engine.
yeah, they do good stories, but I feel like they really, really just want to make a Netflix series. Like that's what they want to do.
They are absolutely running themselves thin right now. I can't imagine these games being good anymore.
Yeah, they've now announced a lot. I'm sure their team has expanded since then, but I don't want to get into Telltale because I'm sick of being negative. But they do make quality product for what they do, and by that I mean like they don't make anything complex mechanically. It's really a lot of animator and story teamwork, but it's cool.
Yeah,
Like that's good for them.
I mean, good for them for like so many publisher or so many brands wanting to come to them and make a game. Like it'd be so hard to turn down. Like, hey, HBO wants you to make a Game of Thrones game. Oh, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. DC wants you to make a freaking Batman game. Like, all right, let's do it. Like, so good for them for wanting all that stuff or for like getting all of it. But man, they must not leave the their work. They must not go home and sleep. Like it's just constant games that never stop. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the awards. A lot of games that won. I was glad that they won. A couple surprises, but for the most part,
Yeah,
it was a good
I was very happy that Witcher 3 won so much. I haven't even played the game, but I'm definitely gonna play it now.
I'm glad.
I was happy to see what was that one game that won art direction?
Oh, let's see. It wasn't
Because that game was
Ori and
stunning.
the Blind Forest.
Was that an independent game?
Yes.
Okay, because that
kind of people would group it in the indie category. Just like, you know how indie music isn't really indie and indie games aren't really indie anymore. People consider it an indie game, but Microsoft published that game, so no, it's not an indie game. But
it was made by a small studio.
yes, it's an indie game in the 2015 definition of the word.
I feel like if you have less than like 20 people, you're an indie studio.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to start saying things and have people get mad at me because I say
yeah.
things.
Everyone knows what indie game means, but no one can. There's not a definition for it.
Yeah. I also don't like the word indie. That's a completely different, like, tangential topic.
Yeah,
Like, I wish we would just say independent, but whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that game went art direction because that game was gorgeous. I haven't played it, but I might play it now.
Yeah, I would play it if I had an Xbox One, but I don't.
Yeah.
So
It looks good. So yeah, I don't have an Xbox One, so I can't play it. I guess,
it might be
but
on PC, but I'm not. I'm actually pretty sure about that it's on PC. But again, don't quote me.
I'm not gonna quote you. But someone will quote you and said that you said it. So
Yep.
well, they won't because no one cares about our podcast yet. But when people care about our podcast,
Yeah, eventually once we hit like episode 50 and we've got a bunch of followers and stuff, and then people go back to older episodes, they're gonna see that I said that, and then at that point I'm gonna know I was wrong, but I'm not gonna put like a little annotation in there saying I was right or I was wrong.
no, we'll do that for future videos if we learn right away, but not like we're not gonna go back like a year and be like we were wrong about this thing because you obviously know that we were wrong. It was a year ago.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yep.
We care.
We care about quality, but
Yeah.
if we make a mistake, mistakes happen.
Yeah, nobody knows everything. It's fine.
Oh, I know everything.
Oh.
I just get stuff wrong on purpose.
So is Ori and the Blind Forest on PC?
Well, Miller, let me distract you for a second.
While you look that up, I want to let you guys know to follow us on Twitter.
It's on Windows.
Oh, okay. Follow us on Twitter at @GetSome_games. Please.
Yep. Yeah, please do that.
We're a great
Subscribe
pod.
on YouTube as well. Share us with your friends if you like it. If you like it, give us a like. If you dislike it, give us a dislike, I guess. But hopefully you didn't dislike it.
Let us know why you dislike it in the
Yeah,
comments.
yeah. If you're gonna dislike it, tell us why.
Yeah, because video games are a passion, and I want to do something like this. I want to get some games to be huge. I want it to be awesome. And if you personally don't like it, that's awesome. But it'd be great if you let us know why, so we could then improve on it. And for the people that do like us, we can get a better product, and then maybe we can even win over the people that don't. And because we're gonna do it anyway. Video games are, at least mine, and I know they're your passion. And
Yeah. No, it's definitely my passion, and I think I can speak for both of us. Would say that we would both be doing this even if it didn't go anywhere. Oh, not like go anywhere huge. Videos would come out less frequently if we came to a conclusion that it wasn't, but we would still do it because it's fun and we love it.
Yeah.
And we love games. And I mean, ever since I was younger, I've always wanted to do something like this. And being in the major that I'm in kind of made me realize that I want to be like a gaming / some media journalist. Like I love the entertainment world so much, and I like being involved. And I don't know if the creative process is what I want to be involved in terms of creation, but I like creating videos. I like doing that stuff. So
yeah,
I like being a pundit.
right. This kind of thing is how I would want to be in the industry as well. Like just making just putting up a Rock Band video, like just putting it all together, and it's just so much fun for me. And then like watching it, even like sometimes I'll go back and watch it just because it's, I don't know, I just love the idea. And for any and all kind of videos, like I want to start doing more Let's Plays. Like Guns Up came out today. I want to do something on that just because it's brand new and it's free, so I think people would be interested in it, just the fact that it's free. One really super quick thing, going back to PSX, I love that Sony kept doing like, here's this cool new game, it's out today. I really like when they do that. If you do it too much, then you kind of cannibalize your own game because people can't just buy 3 brand new games out on a whim. But I thought it was awesome that they did that. But yeah, like, I don't know how we got on this tangent, but
I don't know either, but
we're
I think
super
we've
passionate about games, and
basically.
yeah, I love what we do and want to keep doing it. So let us know if we suck at it, so we can not suck at it.
that would definitely be helpful. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any final thoughts on anything we missed, or just something you want to reiterate or anything like that?
I just want to reiterate that I know it may have seemed or it may have been the case that we were very negative, but to be clear, a lot of cool stuff was shown. It just everything that they showed, I was already excited about. You know, Paragon is something I hadn't seen that I'm now excited about, but for the most part, I'm just like, cool, that's happening. But everything I was really hyped for, I was already hyped for. So PSX was a little bit of a letdown this year, but maybe they'll show some cooler stuff coming in E3 in the next few months. So,
all right, well said. I wish we disagreed on more things so we could have more back and forth, but
oh yeah,
That's okay. That's just a random, pointless thing. But thank you guys for listening. Like we said before, if you like what you see, what you hear, anything on our channel, please subscribe to us so you can see when we do anything, and follow us on Twitter. Like, I live streamed all of PlayStation Experience. I live streamed the Game Awards. So if you're into that, into the discussion, please follow us on Twitter at @getsome_games so you can see whenever we're streaming, whenever we put up videos, and just a random thought here or there on what's going on at that moment in video games. So Ben, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much, you beautiful listener, for listening to us for this long. And until next time, pray for Crash Bandicoot.